Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the latest episode of the Give My Head podcast. I'm Tim McGarry, joined by my comedy colleagues
Michael McDowell
and Damon Quinn.
We're absolutely delighted that you have liked and subscribed. Have you liked and subscribed the Give My Head podcast? Please like and subscribe. We are delighted to say that Give My Head Peace is on tour next year all over Northern Ireland. We're in the Grand Opera House at the end of March. We're all over the province. We have a Christmas special coming up, and there's some episodes still on BBC iPlayer.
Yeah, quite a few still. Yeah.
And thank you to everybody who came recently to our live podcast in the Mandela Hall. We had a ball. Thank you very, very, very much.
Certainly did.
And best of all, ladies and gentlemen, before we start, we'd like to say a huge thank you to our sponsor. That is Hinch Distillery, Hinch Irish Whiskey, peated single malt. I can thoroughly recommend Hinch Gin. We are very, very delighted to have Hinch looking after us. They have tours and experiences, ladies and gentlemen. You can step into the world of Hinch Irish Whiskey, take a walk through their state-of-the-art distillery, learn about the fascinating history of gin and how it's produced. And do you know where gin comes from, Jim? Do you know who brought gin to Ireland?
Haven't a clue.
King Billy. Seriously.
No better man.
No better man. He brought gin. We have, this is a beautiful, now this is slightly early in the morning, ladies and gentlemen. We record this slightly early in the morning, so I'm not going to have a drink, and this man is definitely not going to have a drink because he doesn't have a drink.
That's correct, never.
Jim, if you did take a drink, this is, I swear to God, I'm not a massive
Well, I've been to
fan.
Hinch Distillery, so at least I've...
Oh, well, there
Would you recommend it?
Beautiful
Very
whiskey.
much so.
Beautiful
And
whiskey.
they
Very much
have, not only they have a brilliant deal on, you can own a cask of Hinch Distillery, you can buy a cask of Hinch Distillery, and that's a very good investment by all accounts.
Apparently so, yes.
Michael, tell us about the gin. You like a
Gin,
bit
the
of
gin. I do like gin. And this is really lovely. It's called the Ninth Wave. It's based on. It takes you to another world, gentlemen. Yeah, it's based on Irish myth, and there's a bit of the idea that there's the ninth wave. There's a mystical wave that when you go through it, it transports you to a different world, and it's a bit, Lion the Witch and the Wardrobe, actually, a bit
Right.
Aslan. But yes, really lovely gin. Really, I like my gin and tonic. I'm a big fan, and it's really lovely.
We'll not be having any gin. We'll not be having any gin or whiskey during the programme, because Jim, we're respect for you.
We have no Coca-Cola for me.
We've
so,
no Coca-Cola for you. Ladies and gentlemen, our special guest on this edition of the Give My Head podcast is one of the biggest figures in local football for the past, I was going to say 30, 40, 50, 100 years, 75 years in local football, from ball boy to vice president of FIFA. A friend of mine, friend of the show, ladies and gentlemen, give it up for Mr. Jim Boyce. Jim, how are you? Are very, very
Thank you
welcome.
very much, Tim. It's a pleasure to be here.
Listen, Jim, first of all, I don't normally take my clothes off during a show.
Take them off.
No, but I'm going to take this one off because this deserves it. Jim Boyce, you will recognise that moment there. That is Ronan Hill.
I certainly will. Don't think I'll ever forget it.
Well, yeah, exactly, you'd never forget it. This was designed by a friend of my son's called Owen Hegarty, who designs stuff, and very good. Look up Owen Hegarty. But Jim, I'm being slightly for this is not a Cliftonville loving, okay? But you are life president of Cliftonville you've been associated with Cliftonville for how many years?
75, Tim. It is an amazing story. I was ball boy, as you say, when I was 7 years of age. If God spares me, I'll be 82 on my next birthday. And
Do you do
I've
ball boy
been
anymore?
from ball boy. Then I was in the Junior Supporters Club.
Right.
And then I was obviously asked to join the committee of Cliftonville Football Club. I became vice president in 1978, and we won the Irish Cup for the first time in God knows how many years in 1979.
Tim still goes on about it.
Occasion.
Remember it well.
Things then became very difficult because of obviously the troubles, Tim. We don't want to go into those, but there were some horrendous days. And then 10 years after that, I became chairman in 1988. And obviously, a day I'll never forget for the rest of my life was winning the Irish League for the first time. I think it was, 78 years or something like that.
Yeah, I missed it.
I
missed that.
Did you?
Do you know why? Because I was filming with these sods in a police station.
Oh.
It was 1998, May 1998. It was the second series of Give My Head Peace, where Emer had joined the police, and I remember filming, and I heard it on the radio. I'll admit I couldn't be there.
Yeah.
Still
What a
got it
day,
about-
because that's a day, Tim, people do remember. The Irish League made Cliftonville play Glentoran
Yes.
an hour before Linfield played Coleraine.
That's right.
And of course, our match ended in a draw.
Yeah.
And
We had to wait for an hour.
Lamont, I remember it well. I was on the tannoy talking to the crowd. The atmosphere was unbelievable. And apparently Wes Lamont there was a goalkeeper who had actually played for Linfield. He was then the goalkeeper for Coleraine, and apparently he played Linfield on his own, and they only got it. So what a day.
So you said 75 years with Cliftonville. That means you were ball boy in 1950. Is that
I was
right?
ball boy in 1951. And I'll tell you how that actually started, Tim. I was a boy member of Cliftonville Cricket Club because my other love was cricket, obviously, and I'm very fortunate that I was able to have a good career in cricket because I was badly injured in a bomb explosion in 1971. My second wedding anniversary, actually.
Whoa! We'll get back to football in a minute. Circle back there. First, I'll tell you what. We'll circle even before that. Boyce, where are the Boyces from? Are you North Belfast, man? Are you
Old Park Road?
Old Park Road. That's where you were born and bred.
Correct.
Right, and all the Boyces are from there.
Yes, my mum and dad, yes, and lived in the same house until I got married.
Right.
So people would be surprised as a cricket club at Cliftonville.
Cliftonville Cricket Club was across the road from Cliftonville Football Club.
Right, okay.
And what actually happened was that I was a boy member of Cliftonville Cricket Club.
Right.
And the groundsman of Cliftonville Football Club was also the groundsman at the cricket club.
Right, okay.
And he saw me at the football match. And the ball kept going into the waterworks. Right? No, it's a true story.
Yeah.
And John Beggs, who's obviously dead and gone a long time ago, said, Jim, I need a ball boy. I need someone to come to Cliftonville to get this ball out of the waterworks.
Thrown round to the waterworks?
Yes,
Okay.
or into the bowling green behind
Right,
it.
okay.
And to me it was a dream. And I said, I'd love to. He said, whoever they played on Saturday. And that's how it all started at Cliftonville. Okay. I went originally, got lifted over the turnstile, went to watch a match, and then became ball boy, and the rest is history.
So you got to see a certain Dr. Kevin McGarry play?
Very, very much so. I mean, we were. I was there actually, standing in the old pavilion, Tim, which you might know, the day that unfortunately he had the heart attack when he was manager at Cliftonville. What a wonderful player! And I mean,
this is my uncle, by the way, just in case there was any bias you wanted to hear.
But
this is my uncle Kevin. He didn't.
Not only a wonderful player, he was a wonderful person, and as you know, he then kept his connection with the club for a long time, and I think his record's only just been recently beaten by the infamous Joe Gormley.
Yeah, well, he had 171 goals for Cliftonville.
Yeah, and Joe at the minute is 299.
Yeah, well, as we speak to you today, I suspect he might have beaten it even by the time this goes out. Hopefully, touch wood. But so 1950, you're a child in the Old Park Road, and you're into cricket, and you're then to start becoming ball boy for Cliftonville. Yeah. A lot of people, I mean, you know the politics of this place, Jim, more than anybody. Right. A lot of people think, Cliftonville's always a Catholic club. It's all because their supporters mainly come from the Catholic area, but that didn't happen until like the 70s, isn't that right? Originally, Cliftonville was it was the first.
Well, it was a very mixed club. I mean, it was never, and Tim, this annoys me when people try to distinguish it. I'm sorry, but I can honestly sit here and say to you, nobody, to the best of my knowledge, has ever said a bad word to me or about me. Now, I know for a fact the Protestant players who over the last number of years have played for Cliftonville, I'm talking about the Terry Kingans and Nathan McConnells and the John, they all think a world of Cliftonville Football Club. They all tell me it was the happiest days of their life. I've never heard any abuse given to any of those people because of their religion. So, what actually happened, Tim, was the area changed. The whole area changed. The whole area changed because of the Troubles. And obviously, North Belfast, when the Troubles started in this country, people felt safer living in their own areas, for example. And sadly, to my mind, there were ghettos created, which is still a problem to this very day. So people that those days that were living together, they were mixing together, there was never any problem. But what actually happened was, yes, you could see the crowds starting to build up. Mm-hmm. When we won the Irish Cup, a lot of people came from West Belfast. A lot of people came and associated themselves with Cliftonville because Distillery, as you remember, were the club who virtually went out of existence from the Grosvenor Road. So that's how really the whole thing changed. But to this day, I mean, people like you know, we have a number of we have a very mixed team even at the moment, and that's the way we want to keep
Everybody
it. And that's the
loves-
way we want to. You know, I can honestly say to you that in those 75 years, it's never played any part in my life, and it never will.
Well, you see, I've always, when I've spoken to you, you've always had a rather healthy disrespect for our politicians and our political
I
process.
still have. I
You
still
have a
have.
very healthy disrespect for all of them.
All of them, and I'm talking both sides.
Yeah.
Because to me, I sadly, because of the situation with my wife, which we'll talk about later, but the last time I was at church was maybe about 5 years ago, because unfortunately I can't go now. But the minister, in a sermon, and I don't normally listen to much of this, but he made a comment. There was something politically that week in Northern Ireland. Don't ask me exactly what it was. But he said something which will stick to the day I die. And he said, it's a pity that people wouldn't exercise their brains before they open their mouth. And that has stuck with me, because he was talking about something that had happened and the reaction from the politicians in Northern Ireland to what had happened. They, to me, should be setting an example. They should be trying to bring people together. They shouldn't be creating an orange and a green situation, which to me, to this day, several of them still do. And I'm very saddened by that. So, you know, the country has moved on tremendously in the last 20 years. We still have idiots. But overall, I think people would agree it has moved on. The town centre is now booming at the weekend. The number of tourists that are coming even from the Republic of Ireland is tremendous. And I think people now have to move on. And the sooner we can get
Yeah,
away
well,
from this,
we're
the better.
moving forward, but English politics is moving back.
Well, you're 100% correct.
I mean, they're fighting over flags now.
Well,
We can tell them about that.
Oh, we're trailblazers on flags.
no, what?
Don't our English listeners.
We can have a word there and go like, don't go there, really.
Don't
really.
do that. I know.
Put one over City Hall, see how that goes.
But really, Tim, that's how the area
Yeah.
really changed.
So the old park that you grew up in became a Catholic. Did your family move out, or did you?
No, not at
your
all. I
family-
mean, Tim, where I lived in the Old Park Road, 2 doors up, there were Catholic neighbours, right? Across the road, there were they were in our house. We were, you know, there was never any problem whatsoever. And I, fortunately, my parents always brought me up. And I remember my father saying something to me when I was very young. Try and treat people the way you would want to be treated. And I've tried to, genuinely, I've tried to do that.
see-
I've never had a problem with this. Like, I'm lucky that I'm talking to you today, because I was really badly injured.
I was
in a
about to
bomb
say.
explosion.
I mean, if I was blown up in a bomb
badly
in
injured.
1971, presumably by the IRA. I'm
Yes, but it
assuming,
was by the IRA.
I'd be quite pissed off about it, Jim. To me, but you kind of.
Well,
What exactly happened?
I'll
You
tell you
remember?
exactly what happened. I wasn't manager at the time. I worked for Sun Life Assurance. That was my day job. And I parked a car, and I came to the front door of Bedford House, and the caretaker of Bedford House said, Jim, did you hear the bomb has just gone off? It was massive. And I said, no, I wonder where it was. He said it was the Unionist headquarters in Glengall Street. And my words, and I'll never forget it, was, I wonder where's going to be next. And the next I know, I was thrown across the road from one side of the street to the other, screaming. And my wife was standing then beside me when I was on a trolley in the Royal Victoria Hospital. It was my second wedding anniversary. And I had my leg broken in 3 places and a few other bits and pieces. But the big problem was that obviously in those days there was no such things as the modern technology that they have now. So I was in plaster from the toe right up to the middle. Right. And that happened on the 3rd of September. Right. So I went back in December thinking I was going to get the cast off. Yeah. The surgeon touched my leg and I nearly went through the ceiling. And he said, Jim, I'm very sorry, but he said, this leg hasn't even started to heal. He said, look, it's Christmas, go home. I'm going to bring you into Musgrave Park and we'll do a bone graft. Now, I had the clue what a bone graft was. So they had actually chipped bone from my hip, grafted onto my leg, and fortunately it worked. But obviously I was in plaster for, 9 months? And when the plaster came off, I mean, I'm showing you my finger here, that was what my right leg was like. But Freddie Jardine, we'll talk about Freddie, as you know, a lifetime legend at Cliftonville Football Club. And I was determined, because I was playing cricket. I was actually playing for Ballymena in 1971 and was enjoying it. And I was determined. I couldn't play in 72, obviously, because of what happened, but I was absolutely determined that I was going to play cricket the following 1973. And I remember going over on a Tuesday, Thursday night, and Freddie would have worked with my leg, and I would have done a bit of running around Cliftonville with the boys and things. And it's just, as I say, it was a big part of my life. But no, it didn't,
did that not
didn't
make
change
you-
me in any way. No.
No?
Tim,
Do
I'm
not
being
go-
honest with you.
do
No.
you know what?
No, it didn't, because I
Did
I
you
was,
have any? You didn't have any unionist politics in your family or anything? Like
none
that?
whatsoever.
Right.
None whatsoever. None
Did
whatsoever.
you think, like, kind of, like, we were probably a bit too young at the time, but when it all kicked off and it all started in 1969 and into the Troubles, did you think it was going to last as long as it did?
No, I didn't. But I also, and there's people might criticise me for saying this, but I always said there was two sides to every story. And I remember in 1969, I was playing cricket for Belfast High School Old Boys before I joined Ballymena. And I never forget
Belfast
the
High School?
day. I never forget the day when you could see the houses being burnt. When the Troubles really started. Then obviously things took effect from then. But you know, I listen to some of these so-called politicians talking now, but to me it's all one-sided. What the IRA did, I would love to know why somebody placed a bomb in Bedford House where I worked. I never did any harm in my
Yeah,
life. So it wasn't, I mean, I'm not talking about me. I'm one of the lucky ones to be alive today. I don't know why the IRA ever did the type of atrocities, but I also say I don't understand why the UVF and the UDA and various other people did what they did as well. Yeah. So, you know, that's why I'm saying to me there was two sides to every story, and I've always believed that.
Well, I admire your kind of equanimity. Is that one way? But you're always a big advocate of sport, saying sport does more for Northern Ireland than
absolutely, Tim. I mean,
you've always said that. No?
Well, I remember being at Cliftonville when things were horrendous in Northern Ireland.
We had a program, an archive program called Pop Goes Northern Ireland, with the archive. It's Archive of the Troubles. Brilliant show, by the way. I think you can get it on YouTube still, but it takes the Troubles year by year. You appear in it a couple of times. And it's mainly as kind of the chairman or president of Cliftonville, during the dark days when there were horrible riots happening and there was talk of closure of Cliftonville and all of that. And it was fairly grim those days, but you were kind of just clinging on. And I would have thought, I mean, there's a bit of me, if I was you, I was going, you know, there's a lot of nonsense about, you know, Republicans and Cliftonville and stuff like that.
A lot of people who were associated with it.
What are you doing with associated
A lot of people
with
at Cliftonville, a lot of people, I'd be honest, Tim, disappoints me to this day. A lot of people who were at Cliftonville left Cliftonville.
Yeah.
Went and supported all our teams. I couldn't do that. Cliftonville was my life. Cliftonville was my life since I was 7. Could you imagine? Could you imagine me? No, but could you imagine me seriously going and starting or even think? I just never thought about it.
Yeah.
But I'll never forget the time. For example, it was 1984. We were given. I mean, there was nobody coming. There was lucky if it was 100 people at the ground. We were given, I think I'm right in saying, 3 months to raise £40,000. Or the boats were on the door, Tim. And I remember standing with Billy Sinclair, who I'll talk about later on, in the Linfield dressing room with the team. And I was virtually in tears because I honestly thought, this is not going to happen. But we did. I mean, I took it, even though I said myself, to organise certain things. We had Red Hurley, we had Dickie Rock on a big show, which the Strand Theatre, Ronnie Rutherford
Dickie
gave
Rock,
me.
now that's a way to raise money.
But these people know, but they filled the place.
Oh, yeah,
In
of
those
course.
days, they filled the
Of
place.
course.
And I remember in the space of 2 months, 3 major shows with Red Hurley, who had won, well, I say he won it, he was runner-up, I think, in the Eurovision Song Contest. Big in those days. Philomena Begley was on. Jackie Fullerton, actually, believe it or not, sang a few songs. Jackie was on the show with Philomena. But no, we believe it or not, and this is why I'm saying about sport bringing people together. That day we played Linfield. That was our first day after the announcement that we needed to raise this money. They didn't need to get to us. All right.
But did you have to get Jackie Footer?
No, he sang later. He sang.
to ask him.
No, Jackie and I are very good friends, so I didn't have that. He very kindly volunteered, but no, to be very fair, supporters of other teams, Linfield members at that time took out membership tickets at Cliftonville to make sure, and we made it. We actually raised it, and I vowed we're never going to be in that position again. Then that was 1984. In 1988, I tell you another true story. I became chairman. In the first match, Bertie Finlay had resigned. We played Portadown at Cliftonville. Tuesday night, absolutely true story. The gate receipts were £222 against Portadown on a wet, cold, I think it was March evening. It was March, because in March I took over as chairman. And the following Saturday, we played Glentoran at the Oval. And I had to go round and ask the people who were on the committee at that time for, I can't remember, £4 or £5, to actually pay the wages of the team. Because at that time, things were really difficult. But thankfully today, hopefully because of the efforts of people in those days, success has come to Cliftonville. It's now marvellous to see it. And I give Gerard Lawler every credit as well. I mean, I then became president of the IFA, and there were issues that I thought, look, you can't be president of the IFA, chairman of Cliftonville, and get yourself involved. So at that time, I stepped aside. I told Cliftonville Football Club at the start of that season that this would be my last year. And again, I'll tell you a true story. We played the old Wilkinson Sword League Cup. We played Chimney Corner in a friendly. No, sorry, in the Wilkinson Sword League Cup. And we lost 1-0 at the start of the season to Chimney Corner.
Right. That's not good, by the way.
No, I didn't think that didn't sound good. Chimney Corner just not a hotel?
No, Chimney Corner, believe it or not, are a football team from Antrim.
Right.
And Lawrence Stitt, who then came to Cliftonville, was manager of Chimney Corner. This is a true story.
Right.
But I had already told the board that this was going to be my last season as chairman.
Yeah.
That it was time for me to step aside.
Right.
Marty Quinn, who was manager of Cliftonville at that time, came in to the boardroom at Chimney Corner, and he said, Jim, Gary Sliney, who had played for Cliftonville the year before, because Marty took over in I want to get these dates right, Marty took over in 1995. And we started off, we won the six-a-sides at the Ice Bowl at Balmoral.
First tournament we won in 100 odd years.
Yes, that's right.
No, genuinely, yeah.
And I genuinely remember saying to Marty, this might only be a six-a-sides, but I just have a funny feeling this could be the start of something. The following year, we won the Gold Cup. The year after that, we won the County Antrim Shield.
Was that?
And then we won the league. And after we won the league, we won the County Antrim Shield in the same year. But Gary Sliney, who was probably one of our better players, he was on £100 a week. I'll tell you a true story here, Tim. He wouldn't sign for Marty. He wouldn't re-sign for that following season. And Marty came in and he said, Jim, would you go out and have a word with him? I said, certainly I will. So I went out. I always go, we had about 4 or 5 Dublin players playing at that time who came up. But they were getting £100, £110 plus their train fare.
Yeah.
So I went out and I saw Sliney and I said, tell me this. Do you want to play for this team? Jimmy, he says, of course I do. He says, I enjoy this. He says, but I'm not playing for £100 a week. I says, Gary, I'm telling you now. I said, I'll get you £120, right? Absolutely top whack. If you take it, fine. If you don't take it, we'll shake hands now. But I can't give you any more than that. He says, Jimmy, I went and tell Marty to get me the form and come out and sign it. And sure enough, He came out and he was one of the best players. And we
There you
went
go.
on that year and won the league, which was incredible.
So you should, Man United or Man City should hire you and do that with Erling Haaland.
It was
What are
very
you,
funny
10 million a
when-
year? No, I'll give you 120 quid a week. Well, that's kind of the money now.
Well,
is-
okay.
but,
Tim, it's become absolutely,
Yeah.
I'm sorry, in Irish League terms,
But-
this has become...
but Irish League, even in Irish League
This,
terms,
no,
it's
this is
becoming-
what I'm saying. Forget about, of course,
Yeah.
English just is crazy. I mean, there's a German playing last night who Liverpool signed for 115 million, so,
know.
it's crazy. But no, even Irish League terms,
Yeah.
the money that's now been paid out, it's, to
Yeah.
me, it's ludicrous for basically a part-time
Yeah.
league. But that's it.
Well, look, I love your obsession with football because it is. I mean, you were well known as a man. Put it like this: you're not a great man for t-shirts or slacks or for jeans. Or you were John Motson, weren't you? With the guy
No,
with the
still have it.
Sheepskin jacket. All right, okay.
You still have that? John? Still have the sheepskin coat?
Do you want to hear a story about that?
Well, Jim,
Or maybe you haven't time. I'll tell you a story about how that
Jim.
coat came about.
you've heard the phrase "a long story short." You go for that.
Very short, very... Northern Ireland were playing in Germany. I would say it was about 2003. I was president of the IFA. I was in this store and I saw this coat reduced from 1,000 Deutschmarks down to 300 and something Deutschmarks. And I looked at it and I thought, that's a lovely jacket. But I went out of that shop. This is true. That was a Monday. I went back in the Tuesday and I looked at it again. And I didn't buy it. And we were leaving on Wednesday, a match on the Tuesday. We were leaving. And I thought, I'll never forgive myself if I don't buy that ruddy coat. Sheepskin at that time. And it was a third of the original price. And I went in the next day, before we came, and bought that coat. And it's still to this day.
When
When
was that?
It was about 2003. So what would it
It's
be?
quality German stuff, you know.
But that was that's an absolutely true story. And people still keep me going about the John Motson.
There you go. Well, it's very John Motson.
But,
You and I remember Freddie Jordan. Sorry, some people would go. We're getting a bit too into Cliftonville and stuff. But I do want to talk about a man called Freddie Jordan because the reason I want to talk about Freddie Jordan, he was a physio at Cliftonville for about 70 years.
Oh.
Brilliant man. But the
Nice
reason I
days
want
are-
to talk
there's
about
a room named after him.
there's a room named after absolute gentleman. As he also taught me about lying.
Right.
Freddie Jordan, because the first
right.
time in my life I found out my father was a liar.
Right.
Because Freddie Jordan used to ring. My father was a surgeon in the Mater Hospital, and
Yes,
Freddie
sir.
used to ring him all the time with saying,
know he
so when
was,
such and
yes.
such a player's correct, such and such a player's broken his knee leg or something,
yeah.
And he rang at odd hours of the morning or the afternoon and the evening or whatever. And one day I answered the phone at the house, and he said, Freddie Jordan, and I told my dad, I said, can I speak to your dad? So I put the phone down and said to my dad, Freddie Jordan's on the phone. And my dad went, oh, my box sake. Freddie Jordan. If I stick a Freddie Jordan to me every 5 minutes about bloody player bitches, some stupid bloody player. My dad lifts the phone and goes, Freddie! Lovely to talk. Oh, how are you, sir? Yes, not a problem. I'll sort that out for you.
Yeah, I could
But
relate.
you learn kind of, but Freddie was an absolute
Oh,
legend of that club.
gentleman.
And,
Gentleman. Never took a penny piece out of Cliftonville in his life.
Wow.
yeah.
Not a penny
No, but that's,
piece.
you've volunteered.
Never
for the
took a
clubs.
penny piece.
Yeah.
And
Did
he
you ever
was-
play? Did you ever play football?
Yes, I'll tell you the story about what actually happened there. Yes, I did. I was goalkeeper for a team called Joan Mount Albion,
Right.
between the ages of sort of 9 and 13. But cricket was my other love, which I've already
Yeah.
told you.
Yeah.
And I took pleurisy. And I took it quite seriously.
okay.
Pleurisy is a chest complaint
yeah.
with asthma. Because as a boy, there was nights, I'll be honest, I didn't think I was going to see the next day. I was so bad as an asthmatic.
Right.
But I went and the doctors, and I had to obviously see a surgeon. And his words to me were, my advice to you is stick to cricket and give up this football.
Right.
Because what happened in those days, there was no such things as leisure centres that we have
yeah,
today.
yeah.
So you were getting soaked to the skin.
That's right.
And you were
Yeah.
changing behind hedges. So after the match, you know where to shower, you know where to change.
That's right.
And his advice at that time was,
Give it up.
give this up, forget about it. And that's how I then just every Saturday was Cliftonville, full stop.
That's the thing. Because you've got this deep love of football,
And
but you
then,
weren't actually-
but cricket, cricket was my second life, and I played for Belfast High School Old Boys. I then went to Ballymena, and I became captain of Ballymena actually in 1974, and we're still the first team from Section 3 in the Northern Cricket Union League to get to a senior cup final. We were beaten with Warringstown, but I played for Ballymena for 12 years, so I enjoyed the cricket as well. And I was very lucky. We talk about my football career, but I was actually manager of the Ireland under-19 cricket team
Oh, right, okay.
in Bermuda, Holland and Denmark in 81, 83 and 85. So, I was on the I was PRO actually for the Irish Cricket Union for
It's
I think it was something like 15 years.
It's
So cricket would still to this day be when I say my second love, believe it or not, if there's football on the TV and there's a test match on the TV, there's many times I would watch the cricket.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's big actually because you see now Irish cricket. I mean, they have these
Tremendous.
tournaments up in Stormont, and it's like
Oh no,
they're packed. They're absolutely packed.
Tremendous what has happened to it.
Yeah.
It's now professional, of course.
Yeah.
They're now a test playing country.
Yeah,
as
that's
you
right,
know.
of course.
In those days, I was organising matches against teams when nobody would come to Northern Ireland, and
Yeah, of
you'd be
course.
lucky if you got 100 people watching.
Yeah.
But it has changed dramatically.
Yeah.
But again, it's brought people again. That as a sport has brought people together
course.
in a very big way, and to me, this is what.
Yeah.
But you ended up in FIFA.
Yes, I'll be very brief about that. What happened was I became president of the IFA. Through the IFA, I then became a member of UEFA, okay?
Yeah.
And I was made vice chairman of the European Under-21 Committee at UEFA. I then, from being vice chairman of the Under-21 Committee, it came under the senior UEFA people, and I was then made chairman of the UEFA Youth Committee. And I'm the longest serving member ever at UEFA of the Youth Committee. I was either chairman or vice chairman for 14 years, from 2002 to 2016 when I finished. So through UEFA, then the FIFA vice presidency came up.
Yeah.
And this is an absolutely true story again. The British associations were going to lose the vice presidency seat because there was a lot of squabbles about what was going to happen. And David Will, who was a tremendous person, he was a vice president, but he was giving it up. And Geoffrey Thompson, who was the Englishman, we're talking about England again, he was adamant that he was going to be vice president of FIFA. He wanted David Will's seat. So we had a meeting. David Will said, if you don't resolve this, you're going to lose this seat completely at FIFA. And I wasn't prepared to do that. I said, look, if that's the case, I'll step aside here. And the Scottish president said, no, you won't step aside here. So he made a proposal that what would happen is that Thompson would do the first 4 years, which was 2007 to 2011. And I would then do 2011 to 2015. And that's how I became vice president
See,
of FIFA.
football
Did you-
politics.
Did you ever get approached by any Russians or?
No, I can honestly say to you, there were some very difficult days because FIFA, obviously, the publicity that a lot of them were receiving, and by the way, it was justifiable. A lot of
That's what I was going to ask. Does
It was justifiable.
Does it deserve the reputation? that
Absolutely.
it has,
There were,
or is that just the same? in any sport?
no. A lot of the criticism that people at FIFA received was very valid criticism. And I tell you an absolutely true story. I was finishing at FIFA in 2015. I always personally had not a problem with Sepp Blatter. I'd known him from 1993 when I was vice president of the IFA, so I'd known him for many, many years. But he was 81 years of age, and he was a man who was determined. He just loved FIFA. He just loved being president of FIFA. He asked me, would I not stay on for another 4 years, but by that time I knew my wife was starting. There was a wee bit of difficulty. I'd had my day. I was 72, and I always said, that's when I will finish. And I said to him, no. And I was in a car going back from FIFA headquarters because I was chairman of the referees committee in the World Cup in Brazil. And I was finishing as chairman of the referees committee a week before the Congress. But the women referees were all at FIFA because the World Cup women's was in Canada the following month. So I had to go out to meet them because I was still tactically chairman of the referees committee. I'll never forget this. I was in the car and Marta, who was Bladder's secretary, phoned me in the car and said, Jim, the president noticed that you're at FIFA today. He would like to see you. And I said, Marta, I'm literally 10 minutes away from FIFA, but I can come back. He says, well, I know he wants to see you because I was finishing the following week.
Yeah.
So I goes up, back to FIFA, go up the stairs, and I sees this man. Now, I'm 81, so I'm not being disrespectful here. But he was sitting with his slippers on in his office. He saw me coming up, and he got up, and he held his hand out like that, straight out, and said, I just want to thank you. And I looked at him, and I said, thank me for what? He says, you've been a credit to your country, but he says, you've been an absolute credit to FIFA. He says, you've had a lot of difficult situations. He says, I haven't agreed with everything you've said, but you've handled them all very well, and I just want to thank you. And you said, are you sure you won't? Now, he was at that time going to do another 4 years before the Platini bladder situation arose, right? And I said, no, President. I said, I've my mind made up. I need to spend time at home. I've enjoyed it. Thank you very much for all you've done. I said, can I say something to you? I said, of course you can, Jim. I said, look, you're taking all the flack. You're taking all the abuse for what has happened in this organisation. In my humble opinion, 50% of these guys should have been turfed out of here years ago. And you're taking all the flack for what has happened because of them still being part of FIFA. And he looked at me straight in the face and he said, Jim, perhaps you're right. And I thought, you've said enough, say no more. But what actually happened was, and I've tried to
FIFA
explain
didn't have a
this to
great
people.
reputation.
They had a terrible reputation.
There were bribes,
but let me tell you,
alleged bribes about World Cups
I
and
don't
stuff
think
like
there was
that.
any. I mean, I was never involved in it because that all
I was going to
happened.
say
That all happened. But what I will say to you is, then there was an ethics committee appointed at FIFA. A lot of these guys, 50% of the people who were there when I started in 2011, within 2 years, they'd gone. But what happened was, I'm going to quote one person, Jack Warner, from the Caribbean. Now, he was caught in 2006 in the World Cup in Germany, selling tickets on the black market at an inflated price because he had a ticket company of his own. He got a slap on the wrist and he was fined $10,000. And that was him. Staying on FIFA became one top. But Blatter should have got rid of him. But do you know why he didn't? Do you know why he didn't get rid of these guys from Africa, from South America? Because Warner controlled 48 votes from that region. The South American, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
so
yeah.
48 votes. Warner, he was a main man in that area. Blatter turned a blind eye to many of these people, in my opinion, because he wanted still to be president of FIFA,
Right, okay.
and he knew that
Without them, he wasn't.
Yes, he himself never ever was accused of personally getting involved in. He didn't need to. Let's be blunt about it. He didn't need to. But the big problem was that he was still the president of the organisation,
and allowed it to happen.
and he allowed it to happen,
Yeah.
and that's
His
why.
watch. Yeah.
That's why
And was it a shock to you? I mean, the whole Platini thing and that.
him and I were very, very good friends. I remember my wife's 70th birthday, Platini. Yeah, that was a big shock, and I can't. How do I put it to you? Guarantee what I'm telling you here is right, but my understanding of the situation is this: it was Platini who got Blatter the presidency of FIFA. He was standing against a man called Leonard Johansson, who was the president of UEFA at that time. But Platini was Blatter's electioneering agent.
Right, okay.
Legitimately, through the FIFA books, Platini was being paid $300,000 for his electioneering agent, which apparently was legitimate. Okay? Blatter beats Johansson, and Blatter becomes president of FIFA. Now, I am told on good authority that what happened was Platini then went to Blatter and said, this payment is nowhere near enough for what I have done for you.
Right.
At that time, they were close friends. It didn't end up like that, but they were at that time.
Right.
I want $1 million. This is what the story is.
But did he not earn quite a few quid? But as a footballer, like,
Of course,
you know,
yeah. But look,
yeah,
I'm just trying to give you
Yeah,
what
no,
I
no,
think
no.
has happened here.
yeah.
Blatter, at that time, FIFA weren't a really rich organisation, so they didn't have a lot of money. Blatter reputedly said to Platini, I can't give you that at the moment because we just do not have that amount of money. To which I'm told that Platini said, I don't want it. I don't want it at the minute.
Right.
But I do want it eventually. Now, the story goes that Blatter and him made an agreement for this $1 million, which never went through the books, never showed up.
Right. Okay.
Michel Platini, who I personally thought he would have walked in as president of FIFA, he was very popular with people.
Yeah, yeah.
Platini, at that time, was a French citizen, okay? Nothing to UEFA.
Right.
So had he taken the $1 million, had he got it at that time, I'm told he would have had to pay 45 or 50%
Tax,
French
right.
tax
Right,
as a
okay.
French citizen.
Right.
The story goes that when he became president of UEFA in 2005, he then went to live in Switzerland, right? He gave up his house, he probably kept his house in France, but he bought a house in Switzerland.
Yeah.
And he became a Swiss citizen, which after 5 years, you can become a fully fledged. And in Switzerland, the tax is completely different, apparently,
Yeah.
where you make an agreement with the Swiss authorities. He then sends Blatter the bill for the $1 million,
All right. Okay.
Right.
to which apparently Blatter sends it. But Platini doesn't tell anybody, nobody knows about it. And then somebody comes in, does the FIFA accounts, sees this payment, and that
All right. Okay.
Well-
sadly it finished Platini's career. And
Yeah.
And Switzerland was the right place because remember, first time I ever flew into Geneva Airport, you're going through the check-in, and there's a big sign on the wall that says "Money talks, wealth whispers."
Well, that was a sad thing because Michel Platini, as a person, was very highly thought of, and I'm not only talking about UEFA. He would have walked in as a president of FIFA.
Right.
Unfortunately, that blew up. The whole thing started, and that's
Well, unfortunately, sorry, football does have a reputation
That
of
finished
kind of
Yeah.
bribes
Yeah,
for
that finished
World
it.
Cups
That
and
finished
stuff
it.
like
That
that.
finished
And I don't want you to take this wrong, but I've seen you, the corruption that you get an extra cup of tea at Dungannon Swifts. You get a biscuit, you get a coffee seat.
And,
When you go to Carrick for a Carrick Rangers, do you even stand behind the goal?
Stand behind it. And I've sat in the wall. I still sat in the wall at Cliftonville, as you know, for what 70 of those 75 years.
We
Tim,
couldn't
so-
even give you a free bottle of Hinch whiskey because you don't even want it. Can we talk briefly about a man that you? I'm sorry to bore some people, but there's a man who everybody in football will know. Tommy Breslin
Yes.
was a great
Wonderful.
manager,
Wonderful
wonderful man, and
Wonderful.
sadly passed away. Did a great job for us, and you knew him very well.
Oh, very well. In fact, Tommy and Valerie lived quite close to where I live in Green Island, and what he did. We're talking about the money that's been paid at the moment in Irish League football, Tim. This is only my opinion. Tommy Breslin built a team, and he built a team of people who wanted to play for Cliftonville Football Club. I'm thinking of the Barry Johnsons, the George McMullins, but they wanted to play for Cliftonville Football Club. Now, to me, there are a lot of players earning very big money, but they're not teams. They're not together as teams. They're individuals.
Yeah.
Glentoran, to me, are a prime example of this. The amount of money that's been paid to players there since Ali Poor took over is phenomenal.
Yeah.
But they haven't yet really blended as a team. We'll see this year if they do. So Tommy blended people together. He brought a team together, and mean, the football they played was phenomenal.
Yeah, it
There's
was
no
lovely.
doubt about
Oh,
it.
it was
And
yeah.
what,
And his reputation now among, I mean, I've speak to a lot of fans of
every club.
every player.
He's just so highly thought of by everybody.
Yeah.
But if I can tell you just a funny story about Tommy, Billy Sinclair, who sadly is in a home at the moment, suffering
Ex-manager
very
of Cliftonville,
bad.
yeah,
Ex-manager.
yeah.
He was manager of Cliftonville for 8 years.
Yeah.
And we were playing Glentoran this day. I told you, where I sat in the
Yeah.
wall all the time. And Sinky is shouting, bawling at Tommy, who was playing midfield for Cliftonville. And I remember I could take it no more. And I got on well with it. I turned round to Sinky and I says, Billy, hold on a minute. I says, you're shouting at him. You're bawling at him. The more you shout, the worse he's becoming. I said, Tommy, or Billy, he's getting £15 a week. The Glentoran players at that time were maybe getting £90 to £100 a week, right? I said, he's getting £15 a week. For God's sake, calm down and leave him alone. And he turns around to me, and I'll never forget it, the day I die. He says, Boyce, and I'll not use a word, you're right. He says, you pay peanuts, you get monkeys. That was another famous story about Sinky. God love him the way he is at the minute. But we had a player, you might remember, Frankie Maguire.
I do remember Frankie Maguire,
Right.
yeah.
We're playing Ballyclare this night. Sinky's a manager. Eric Boyer was his assistant. 75 minutes gone, we're beating Ballyclare 2-0. The County Antrim Shield, true story. And he says to Boyer, get Maguire on. So make a substitution. Maguire goes on in the 75th minute. This is absolutely true story. 84th minute, he says to Boyer, get him off. Only taking up good grass. Boyer says, he's only on. What are you doing? He says, get him off. So he comes off. If I hadn't me, I doubt if I would ever been back again near Cliftonville Football Club. Never forget it the day I die. Off he comes. Sinky goes up to him, puts his arm around him and says, we're playing Linfield here on Saturday and I needed to keep you fresh. But what happened was there were two balls came over to him and he fell over them. He fell over both the ball. But Sinky, man management, I needed you for Saturday. I needed to keep you fresh. I brought you back.
Are you an MBE?
I'm an OBE.
OB.
Oh.
No. Forgive me. An
No,
OB.
no.
Like, which royal gave you that?
It was given to me. It was a great honour. It was given to me by Princess Anne in 2015.
I was hoping you were going to say Andrew.
It was no. Princess Anne did it. And I be honest with you, when I was awarded it, I immediately dedicated it to the people who kept football going through horrendous times. And they were, I was going to tell you about being at Cliftonville on a Saturday afternoon. I went home. The town was empty. I mean, it was a ghost town. It was a ghost city. But football, through that period, they brought people together. They kept football going more than politicians have ever done in this country. And that's why I have been very critical about the political situation in Northern Ireland. And I still am.
Yeah.
Well,
she's very nice, isn't she?
Man.
Princess Anne.
She could. I have to be honest with you. She could not have been nicer because I didn't know who was doing it, but it was Princess Anne who gave me the OBE, and she was actually chatting away to me. She obviously had been given notes, and she was talking quite normally to
Was
me.
she?
And in fact, very much so, very much.
Giving
so.
recommendations
And
about who
Tim-
Cliftonville should play up front
Tim,
that Saturday, was it? Or
I'll tell you a true story. When I went back and took my seat, there were people who said, I thought you were starting to try and get off with Princess Anne.
You were getting on that well?
He says you seem to be getting on that well. You were keeping other people back from getting their OB. But it was just a bit of fun. And no, I've got to say she was very nice.
she's coming to Solitude next Saturday.
Is she?
Yeah. She's in the director's
You're not
box.
supposed to say that.
Oh, sorry. I forgot
Yeah.
So maybe we could sing a anthem.
We'll see him again.
Listen, we're chatting away and you don't have much time, but we want to talk to you about something very, very important. Your wife is not well with Alzheimer's, but you're having a dinner to celebrate 75 years at Cliftonville Football
Yep.
Club in aid of Alzheimer's.
Yes.
How is Hazel, your wife, at the minute? How is she?
Tim, she's absolutely remarkable. I'm going back to 3 years ago when she was up in the middle of the night. I wasn't getting any sleep. She thought there were people coming out of the television into the room. She thought there was people coming to the back window to sing to her. And it was horrendous. But I kept taking her out. We went out and she fell in the Culloden Hotel. We went for a coffee. She didn't touch anything, didn't have anything, but she was in tremendous pain with her hip. And I mean phenomenal pain. So she had the need of a hip replacement. And I remember that night in the hospital, them showing me the x-rays of my wife's hip and saying, I was beating myself up about it because I had taken her out. And obviously the family were a bit annoyed that I'd taken her out. And they showed me the x-rays and said, don't you beat yourself up about this. Your wife's hip has completely gone. This could have happened anywhere, and she will need and does need a hip replacement. I don't think, I'll be honest with you, I don't think the family and myself would have, because of her state, would have put her through this operation. Yeah. So anyway, cut a very long story short, she had the operation, she had the hip operation. She's now more content than she's ever been. She's totally incontinent, but she watches the TV, she picks things up well from the TV, and she still knows me. Worse than that nice. Is my brother-in-law. Yeah. My brother-in-law, my sister's husband, he's now in the home, Sir Samuel Kelly, which is quite close to here, actually. It's just up near the Culloden Hotel. I go to see him on a Friday. He doesn't know me. He doesn't know where I am. He doesn't know who I am. And
there's a lot of people listening to this.
And there's so many people.
So
let me tell you how this dinner came.
So you haven't. Sorry, just to interrupt. Yeah, my mother had it and stuff, and it's
terrible,
awful.
Terrible.
And as you say, she started not to recognise.
Yeah, but here's an overall. I have to be blessed. Oh, very much so. And as the day goes on, obviously she's still. But overall, I have to be very blessed that she's as well. And I'm keeping her at home, and will keep her at home as long as I can.
Great. And you're having this big dinner on the 22nd of March, and I'm raging because I am...
Well, I'm most annoyed that you're not there to
I am in Strabane with these lads doing a gig for the Give My Head Peace, which is sadly our annual tour.
Paddy Jenkins felt not getting the
yeah, that's true. I'm missing Jim Boyce's dinner. Paddy Jenkins could have been at the Oscars in Los Angeles and was with us in Downpatrick. So just to let you know, that's how if you sign up to David Hull and do a gig, you sign up to David Hull. So I'm going to. It's the 22nd of March. It's in aid of Alzheimer's, yes. And it's kind of a few people threw this together, and it's going brilliantly.
No, I threw it together myself. Yeah. Basically, what happened to him, and I'll finish on this note. This man and these two young boys came to Cliftonville matches every Saturday, and they asked me to do a wee interview for them for YouTube, social media that we're talking about, which I did with pleasure. And I got a lovely email from him the next day from the father, thanking me for what I did, and saying, Jim, would you do us a big favour? My two boys play for Celtic Boys Club in Downpatrick. And we have a presentation every year of awards, under 9, under 10, under 11, under 12. Would you come down and do the honour by presenting the prizes? I said, I'll do it with pleasure. So I was invited down to... It was Downpatrick, Celtic Boys at Downpatrick. And it was the 14th of June, I remembered well, Tim. It was a horrendous day. It was a day of the real floods in Northern Ireland. The roads were flooded. It was just a horrendous day. But I got a reception, and I have to be honest with you, I will never forget that reception I got. There were 400 people at it, at Celtic Boys. And on the way home, I called in for a cup of coffee to the Stormont Hotel because there's a car comes into Hazel every night from 5 to 7. And this chap came and spoke to me and said, Jim, I want to get that coffee and scone. I said, no, I've already paid for it. He says, I'm Jim Magilton's best friend. His name is Eamon Elliott. He's a manager of the Stormont Hotel.
He's a brother of Pierce Elliott and helped us.
Yes, we met him.
Yeah, we met him.
So... Jim Magilton's name obviously came up, and he said, Jim and I are very close friends. In fact, we play six-a-side football together every Tuesday night. And I said, well, Jim and I are very good friends because we would go out for lunch maybe once every 5 weeks or 6 weeks. Because I presented Jim Magilton with his 50th cap when I was president of the IFA. So anyway, I said, believe it or not, I said, this will be my 75th year at Cliftonville Football Club, which is what I said to Tim. And he says, what? He says, you should have a dinner. He said, seriously, 75 years. He said, not too many people could say that.
Yeah.
Now, I'll be honest with you. I had as much intention of having a dinner as I had of... I mean that.
Uh-huh.
But I went home that night, and I thought about it, and I thought about it all day on the Sunday. And I thought, look, I don't want them, but it would be nice to raise hopefully between £6,000 to £10,000 for dementia and eye or for Alzheimer's. And I rang Jim, and Jim says, leave it with me. He says, Eamon's my best friend. He said, I'll ring him. So he rang Eamon Elliott, and Jim rang me back and said, Eamon wants to see you. So I went up, saw Eamon Elliott, and Eamon says, Jim, you can have the suite in the hotel, blah, blah, blah.
Cool.
And the response, I've done it myself, I've just sent it out to people. Linfield have taken the table, Glentoran have taken the table, Crusaders have taken the table, Pat Jennings,
Chimney Corner taking a table.
Chimney Corner haven't, no. No, I don't even know who's involved in Chimney Corner. But the nice thing is, what has really pleased me, is the people that I was associated with, like Sammy McElroy, Laurie Sanchez, Brian Hamilton, they're all, not one of them have, all of them are saying how much they're looking forward to it.
Brilliant.
And there's a lad that Tim knows called Sean Strang, who played for Cliftonville, and has now got 2 very big dental practices in Sydney. And he says, Jim, I wouldn't miss it. And he actually sent me
wow.
he actually sent me a photocopy of his flight tickets for him and his wife to come.
And you're missing it, Tim.
I've been strip on with you two.
Let's skip the night on. Come on, surely.
And the
I'll do
girl,
the stand up for a night.
and Tim, the girl Carly who sang last
Oh
night,
yeah,
she's actually coming.
there's an opera singer
Yeah.
coming to his house today to
There's
sing to
the
his
girl
wife.
who
Isn't that
sang
gorgeous?
the anthems before the match. She's fantastic.
At Northern Ireland, Germany.
But what actually happened was there was a film named in my honour called Shooting for Socrates. It was and, and David Campbell organised this in the Waterfront Hotel as a premiere. And David and I go back a long time. So he actually wrote to FIFA and asked, would there be any possibility of getting the World Cup to come to Belfast? Now, I said to David, there's no chance. It doesn't leave FIFA's office. This is again a true story.
Yeah.
And somebody came to me before a FIFA executive committee meeting and said, Jim, very sorry, but this can't happen. So Blatter came in. I was saying about my relationship with Blatter. And I said to him, by the way, President, can I speak to you a minute? He said, certainly, Jim. And I told him, and he says, who refused it? I said, I don't know, but obviously I've been told it can't come to Belfast.
Yeah.
You leave this with me. I got a phone call the next day to tell me the World Cup was coming to Belfast. And a chap called Walter de Gregoro, who was the PR person for FIFA, him and I, remember this World Cup didn't leave FIFA without about 15 armed guards. Him and I brought the cup in a British Airways plane to Belfast, put it in the boot of my car, drove around Belfast in it. The Waterfront Hotel there was about 1,800 people at the premiere of the film. You weren't allowed to handle the World Cup unless you wore white gloves, because you must wear white gloves. The only people that are allowed to handle it are the people who
You have to wear white gloves.
You have to wear
You have
white
to be an
gloves.
orange man or something.
You have to wear white gloves. It's a rule that FIFA have
Right.
that you can't handle this trophy unless you wear white gloves. And that night in the Waterfront Hall, people couldn't believe that here we are with a World Cup and driven in the back of my car and no security. But that's the story.
Unbelievable. Well, hopefully with Michael O'Neill, we'll bring the real World Cup back. And
Well,
come on, dream big, Jim.
no,
Dream big.
I'm going to. Michael O'Neill's done a fantastic job.
But he's not going to win the
with
World Cup.
No, he's not going to win. But what I want to see Michael doing now is doing what Laurie Sanchez did. I was saying there's 3 days that stick out in my life. Obviously, the day Cliftonville won the league, beating England, beating Spain,
Yeah.
unbelievable.
We had Mr.
And
Healy in here.
Laurie Sanchez again is coming to the dinner with his wife, which I'm very pleased about. I still to this day get on the very best with Laurie. Laurie Sanchez done an unbelievable job for Northern Ireland football. Remember, we hadn't won a match for 14 games. We hadn't scored a bloody goal. He changed it. But not only did he do very well, he beat big countries. He beat Spain, he beat England, he drew with Portugal, he went to Switzerland, and he beat big countries. And I remember sitting one night having a cup of coffee with a couple of Northern Ireland players, and I said, tell me this, what did Sanchez have? And their words to me were, you didn't have to like him as a person, but every time we went out onto that pitch, we knew what we had to do and exactly how we had to do it. And he said, he was meticulous in his football planning. So it'd be nice to have Larry back again.
Well,
People criticised him, the press went through him, wrongly in my opinion. I'll not tell you what salary he was on, but he was on a reasonably low salary at the IFA. He went for over 4 times that salary as manager of Fulham, with a doubling up if he kept Fulham up. Now, it was a no-brainer. It was a no-brainer, but he got a lot of criticism because of it.
Jim, absolute pleasure talking to you. I wish you all the very best for this dinner.
Thank you
I
very
will
much.
see you at Solitude soon, though I have a few gigs to do.
Well, you
but I
maybe
will
see me at Larne on Saturday.
Oh, we could see it, Lauren, on Saturday. Thank you very much. The very, very best to Hazel. And thank you very much for being on the Give My Head podcast. Thank you very much to our sponsors, Hinch Distillery. Remember, grab yourself some Irish whiskey, peated single malt, absolutely delicious.
Gin's lovely too.
The gin is lovely
Lovely
too. Like and subscribe to the podcast if you like us. And ladies and gentlemen, can you thank once again Mr. Jim Boyce?
It's been my pleasure. Thank you very, very much. Thank you very much.